We commit each and every activity at this place into your hands. And it's our prayer, Lord Jesus, that open our understanding so that we should understand whatsoever will be presented here. And it's our prayer that we should make everything that we have heard here, Father, we should put it into practice to the glory of your name. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Thank you so much, Victor, for the prayer. Let us all stand for the national anthem. Thank you so much. May I now invite the students' representative, Innocent Chikopa, to give us the welcoming remarks.
To the guest of honor, the Deputy Minister of Gender, Community Development and Social Affairs, Honorable Agnes Ntosankoma MP, the keynote speaker, National Program Officer, United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, Mr. Maxwell Matewere, the Deputy Vice Chancellor of Malawi Assembly of God University, Dr. Jovin Kuma, representatives of respective organizations, esteemed lecturers and members of staff, students, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. First and foremost, allow me to extend a warm welcome to all of you to the public lecture on human trafficking under the theme, Understanding Human Trafficking, Our Shared Responsibility. I feel so much honored to welcome all of you, especially our distinguished speakers. This public lecture was organized by Malawi Assembly of God University, Social Sciences Department, ECT for year students, in cooperation with the university administration. In particular, allow me to extend my gratitude to the organizing committee led by esteemed director, Mr. Yamika Chikwaza, and to the university administration for the support rendered towards this event. To everyone who took part in making sure the event is a success, your relentless support has been very much appreciated. Without much ado, allow me to make a few remarks on the rationale of this event. Human trafficking is one of the contemporary issues that is affecting people across the globe, with children and women being the most vulnerable. In fact, literature has indicated that Malawi has long been trafficking hotspots in Southern Africa, as reported by Dutch Warren DW Africa TV on 11th May 2022. With many cases of human trafficking being reported, and recognizing that Malawi Assembly of God University inspires its learners to be leaders that change the world. Social science students thought it wise to organize this public lecture. It is through this public lecture that we aim to shed more light on human trafficking and remind all of us that it is our shared responsibility to end this malpractice. Finally, before I take my seat, allow me to make a quick reference to the Holy Bible, particularly from Proverbs 31, verse 8 to 9. This scripture says, "Open mouth for the mute, for the lives of all who are destitute. Open your mouth, judge righteously. Defend the rights of the poor and needy." Ladies and gentlemen, this scripture is reminding us that it is our shared responsibility, and we are shared responsible for protecting others from various forms of abuses, including human trafficking. Therefore, in agreement with this scripture, let's all stand against human trafficking, as it is violation of human rights. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Innocent. Indeed, it is our responsibility to fight human trafficking. Allow me to invite the University Registrar, Mr. Albert Matewere, to give us his remarks.
Let me recognize the presence of our guest of honor, the Deputy Minister, Honorable Kusangoma. Let me recognize the presence of our keynote speaker this afternoon, Mr. Maxwell Matewere. Let me also recognize the presence of the Director for Children Affairs at the Ministry, Mr. Karanda. I also recognize the presence of Dr. David Ngoma, the Deputy Vice Chancellor for the University. Let me recognize the presence of Mrs. Zole Namongwe, the Dean, Faculty of Education, all heads of departments, lecturers. Let me also recognize the presence of our media partners, our Deputy Minister. I would like to welcome you to Malawi Assemblies of God University. Your coming here is not something that can be taken for granted, knowing that the information reached the office this morning, and then you made a decision that you abandoned the rest of the program that you made today, and then came and made a decision to come to MAGU. That is something that we really appreciate, Honorable Minister. The topic for today is to do with human trafficking, and this is a challenge for Malawi and worldwide. For this reason, we have looked at it as something which is very relevant to the modern society, and especially to our students here, and students from other institutions, especially when they finish their studies. While they are busy looking for employment, some of them may be cheated. And I think this afternoon we are going to benefit a lot from the presentation by Mr. Matewere. And I would like to ask our students to pay more attention to the presentation, and they make sure that you take down the notes, and hopefully you will be given the chance to ask questions. So please pay attention. Our guest of honor once again, I would like to welcome you to Malawi Assemblies of God University. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for the remarks. May I now invite the Dean of Faculty of Education, Mrs. Zole Namongwe, to give us a speech.
Our guest of honor, the Deputy Minister, Agnes Kusangoma, Honorable. Our keynote speaker, Mr. Maxwell Matewere. The Director of Child Affairs, Mr. Midnight Kalanda. Our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Dr. Ngoma. All invited guests, all lecturers, all students, and everyone present, good afternoon. My speech has been organized in such a way that I just want to introduce the Early Childhood Development Program at MAGU. So we are going to have a background of Early Childhood Development Program at MAGU and also some of the plans that have been outlined in line with the presentation that is going to be made today. So Early Childhood Development Program at MAGU started in 2014 with the aim of capacity building in order to have child specialist members who can be able to handle issues to do with children and those issues that are available in the labor market. And so as MAGU, we decided to offer programs in order to train people at different levels. We have short courses where we empower caregivers and other specialists that are working in early childhood development in order to have knowledge and be empowered to help our nation. We also have a diploma level where we believe that if learners are imparted with more knowledge, they will be able to help in the development of Malawi. We also have a degree program with the belief that if students are exposed to research, if they are also able to gain more knowledge, they will be more impactful and they will work towards achieving the goal of MAGU, which is developing leaders and changing the world. So basically, MAGU has ever trained several specialists in ECD. At diploma level, we have graduated approximately 250 students, and in the current graduation, we will graduate about 66 students. And with degree, because it was accredited last year, so we had our first graduation at the beginning of this year, and another graduation will be held just next week, where we will graduate about 17 students. And we are also planning to introduce a master's, so you will be told of how this program will run and when we will start it. Apart from capacity building, MAGU also embarks on research. And this research is done at undergraduate level, as well as lecturers are also encouraged to conduct research in early childhood, with the idea that whatever programs we are implementing in the country, it should have scientific basis. And we can only gain that through research. And so some of the lecturers have ever published papers on early childhood, and also we have studies that have been conducted by students. We are just trying to develop a platform where students should be sharing the results from the studies so that the nation should be aware of the issues that are affecting children. Apart from capacity building and research, MAGU also embarks on community engagement. And so we do that by encouraging our students in most of the courses that they do. They also develop topics that they can sensitize the communities in terms of the issues that are affecting children. For instance, we've had students who went to sensitize parents at Kauma village on child rights and child protection. Upon noting that there are a lot of child rights cases, child abuse, as MAGU, because child rights and protection is one of our courses, so children are empowered to sensitize the communities to be aware of how they should be handling their children. And I believe even the topic of human trafficking also follows under that, because if parents are sensitized on how they are supposed to raise their children appropriately, then we won't have issues of child trafficking. And as a result, because MAGU believes in collaboration, the students, in collaboration with the lecturers, they engaged our keynote speaker to be part of this lecture so that we can achieve the collaboration agenda that we have as MAGU. Once this lecture has been done, the students are planning to sensitize various communities on the knowledge that they are going to gain today. And through that, it will also help our MAGU community engagement to be achieved as well. So as MAGU ECD, we have various partners that we work with, the Ministry of Gender being part of our partner. We work together in various areas. We send our students in various departments, various districts. In the social welfare department, they do help. And also we collaborate with UNESCO, with NAC, and various organizations. Through that, our students are able to practice the theories that they learn, and through that, they impact in the development of the nation. Our guest of honor, we welcome you, and we believe that through today's presentations, our learners will gain a lot. They will be empowered to reach out to various communities, and also they will be knowledgeable so that we shouldn't have a case from MAGU being trafficked. Thank you so much.
This is the time that we want to hear from our keynote speaker. And before I invite him, we need to know that our keynote speaker is an expert in child trafficking issues, and whatever he's going to speak to us is something that is evidence-based. So allow me to introduce to you Mr. Maxwell Matewere, who is the National Program Officer for the United Nations on Drugs and Crime. Mr. Matewere, please, you are welcome to give us the speech. Let's all give him a applause.
Deputy Minister, Gender, Social Welfare Services, and Community Development, Honorable Koma, all government officials who are present here today, the Deputy Registrar, Mr. Albert Nema, the Vice Chancellor present, the Student Council President Innocent Chiboba, and all protocol observed. I am so happy to be one of the speakers here today to discuss with the students and the audience this topic known as human trafficking. But before I go through my discussion, as you have been informed, I am coming from the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. It is a UN agency. There, when we employ people, we talk about money. So currently, we are looking for 20 researchers. They need to be students. They need to work with us for 6 months. And I thought I should start my discussion with you by first offering this opportunity to the students here at Assembly of God. Now, just to be sure that indeed we have students here who will be willing to work with me as researchers for 6 months. I want all those that want to join and become one of the researchers to stand up. I just want to see the numbers. How many are willing? Thank you very much. May sit. Now I know I am at the right place to discuss issues of human trafficking. I also know that when going back, me and the Honorable Deputy Minister will not just go alone, but we'll go back with at least 50 who actually trafficked 50 students from this university. I'm here to discuss human trafficking, not to advertise for some employment opportunities. My agenda is to discuss human trafficking, not to offer you employment. That's not my agenda. Why did you stand up? Why did you clap hands? My agenda is not to come in. All of you who clap hands, all of you who stood up, you will be possible victims of human trafficking. That's how human trafficking works. I'm here to interrogate this topic called human trafficking and to explain to you why we say that human trafficking is an organized crime. I want, by the end of this discussion, to support the statement that was made by the minister and make sure that instead of us operating or you becoming human victims of human trafficking, indeed, as it has been said by the last speaker, for you to become ambassadors of change. We want you to work with us. We want you to become role models. Students that will grow up or become professionals and be part of the team fighting against human trafficking. How do we do that? There are four main expected outcomes that I want to achieve within this time which has been allocated to me. One is to raise awareness and also knowledge on issues to do with human trafficking as an organized crime. I'll repeat, as an organized crime. Secondly, I want to share with you and also increase your understanding of human trafficking based on Malawi situation. What is the situation in Malawi? Thirdly, as an expert, I want to offer myself to you to respond to any question you might have about human trafficking. You might have some doubts whether indeed these things really happen. I'm here, I think it has already been stated, to explain, to engage you, and also to support the statement that has been made by the minister in demonstrating that this issue indeed happens. Then, lastly, to fight against human trafficking, you need to be organized. You can never win the war against human trafficking if you work alone. to fight against human trafficking requires proper cooperation, coordination, and participation of everyone. That's the only way you can win against human trafficking. So I hope that by the end of this discussion, maybe there is only me and the Deputy Minister. By the end of this discussion, there will be 100 of us. My appeal to you, whatever we discuss today, whatever you hear during this discussion, please don't keep them in your pocket. Share with your friends. Let us agree that from this discussion, you at least share two of your friends, just two, and ask them to share to another two of their friends. You're almost 250 here. 250 as key ambassadors. If you share this information to 2 times 250, how many people know about human trafficking by money? 750. If they also share, how many people know? By next Friday, more than 1,000 people. So do that. Sorry, you can't see this. But for me, as an outline, I want to demonstrate to you how the traffickers recruit the victim. What I studied was the recruitment process. Inviting them to join me as researchers was the recruitment process. I want you to understand the operations, how the traffickers do their businesses. Then again, I would like to explain to you the means that are used for the traffickers to succeed. They are highly organized people. They don't just wake up and recruit the victim. They go through a process. So by the end of this discussion, I want you to understand the means that are used by the trafficker to recruit their victims. Then thirdly, I want you also to understand by the end of this discussion the purpose. Why people recruit people and why others will become victims of human trafficking. What is the reason? So I would like to explain to you the purpose of human trafficking. Why does human trafficking happen? Then again, very important. Some of you will be graduating very soon. You start hunting for job opportunities. I want to explain to you the environment that facilitates human trafficking. You must know what are these environments. Then again, share with you. You might say, are these things that what are happening in Malawi? I want to share with you the global experience. Then lastly, the Malawi situation. Then I'll end up my discussion with you to support the minister's statement, Deputy Minister's statement, in appealing to you to support the campaign and to explain to you one or two things how you can become the ambassadors recruited to fight against human trafficking. In my experience, I have learned to appreciate that most of the time when I start holding this discussion about human trafficking, it becomes so difficult sometimes for me to explain, for people to believe and understand that indeed these things happen. So I have learned to use practical examples. And I want to warn you in advance that to support my presentation, my discussion with you, I have some pictures and some languages that of them that are somehow sensitive in nature. So I'm warning you in advance. What's the issue that I want to discuss with you? I want to support them with evidence. So be prepared. If you have water, please. So that's advance warning. Let us start with the introduction. Why am I an expert? Yes, I work for the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime as a legal and crime prevention expert on transnational crimes. But there is something also, I started doing this work for information way back during my final year at the university somewhere in South Africa in 1998, long time ago. So there are moments that makes me happy. Whenever I have some engagement with people and I receive words of compliments, there are also moments that makes me happy. There are also moments that makes me very sad. My work also involves participating in the rescue of the victim. There are times when I'm called to support the rescue of the victim, and most of the time it is already too late. Would find the victim already killed for their organs. It becomes so too late. But whenever I have an audience like this one, it makes me so happy. So there are also times like this one when I receive the Hero Award. I'm talking about the Hero Award from American government for my work in the fight against human trafficking. Most important, for leading successful rescue mission of Malawians, not Europeans, of Malawians, who are victims of human trafficking. Is that even clap hands for me? So that's how I want to introduce myself, to make sure that you understand that the things that you'll be hearing from me here today are not coming from an ordinary person, but they're coming from someone else who is globally recognized for his work against human trafficking. Then secondly, there are also moments like this one that makes me happy. Whenever I have this type of engagement, it assures me that instead of being called to rescue 100 children who have been trafficked because they didn't know, at least I want to be called to rescue 1 or 2 children. Because the majority of children like you, or students like you have information. So whenever I have this type of engagement, it makes me so happy. Then again, why are these discussions so important? They are important because they reduce the number of people that cooperate and support the work of traffickers. What I'm doing here is an advert inviting Malawians for employment in Oman. It was sent through a social media by this recruitment agency. Within a period of 3 hours, this advert was separated in Malawi by 3,000 people, all in several phones, with a message: my sister, my brother, there is a job opportunity in Oman. 3,000 Malawians become agents of the trafficker without knowing. You will be in the position of, you will know what happens in issues of human trafficking. Very important. Because you know, would expect that instead of having 3,000 people distribute or circulate this through the social media, maybe we might have only 2 or 5, not 3,000. What we are expecting to see from you is to delete this type of messages. If you do that, you are promoting the rule of law, and also you are encouraging people to respect the national jurisdiction. You are not cooperating with the traffickers. As of now, the majority of Malawians are active participants. They are offering free space for the traffickers to advertise false job opportunities. That has to stop. The importance of this awareness, again, I already mentioned. It helps to protect the right to life. I'm showing you this picture of young people recruited in Ethiopia, passing through Malawi. They didn't know that were in the hands of the traffickers. The first picture this side, it was a group of 78 young people traveling from Ethiopia to South Africa. They didn't know they were in the hands of the traffickers. When the truck was intercepted in Mozambique, having passed through Malawi, they opened up the truck. Out of 78 young people that were in the truck, 68 were found dead. They didn't know. A few weeks ago, Malawi and the world was shocked to be informed about the mass grave in Zimbabwe. When the police went there, the expert went there, they discovered that someone buried 30 people who are believed coming from Ethiopia, young ones, trying to migrate and find some employment somewhere. Because they didn't know, they took a risk. You will know, you will never take this type of risk. We will together protect people's human rights and right to life. Then again, you might say that I have shared with you some example of things that are happening outside or involving people from outside. If you are in a position of no, you have the information and knowledge, you will never become a victim of those Malawians that were rescued in Kuwait, being exploited through sex. You will never become victim like those victims we have in Oman now. I will leave that to the minister. Because you are in a position of knowledge, you have the information, you will never become victims. What is human trafficking? This is a legal term. In Malawi, as the legal framework or arrangements, we also, it's legally known as trafficking in person. So if you hear other people referring to the same concept or issue as trafficking in person or human trafficking, just know that we're talking about the same thing. Globally, we talk about human trafficking, but in Malawi, we use a different term, and it's known as trafficking in person. Human trafficking is a criminal enterprise. It's a business. People are engaged in doing this business of human trafficking. To make sure that we agree in terms, legally and in concept, the United Nations appointed the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime, where I'm coming from, to develop some guidelines or legal framework that were later adopted by the United Nations General Assembly. So currently, we have what we call the United Nations Convention Against Transnational Organized Crime. It's a convention. To support it, we also have what we call supplementary protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in person, especially trafficking in person involving women and children. Then here in Malawi, we have what is known as Trafficking in Persons Act. It's a legal instrument. So in Malawi, the trafficking in person recognize human trafficking as a criminal offense. So under Article 2 of this international convention, international legal framework, and also under Section 2 of the Trafficking in Persons Act, define trafficking in person where it shall mean the recruitment, one, transportation of a victim or transfer of a victim, harboring of a victim or receipt of a person, and it goes on, also defining the means that is used to recruit, transfer, transport, harbor. So if any person is engaged in transferring or recruitment, transferring by the use of any form of coercion or abduction, that person has been engaged in human trafficking. Or if the person has used force or has used the power or position of vulnerability. So if he recruits another person, because that person is poor, unemployed, vulnerable, then you are a trafficker. Then again, the law also provide the definition of exploitation. So if I engage in transportation, recruitment, through the means that I've explained to you, I'll go back again to those means, for the purpose of labor exploitation, commercial sex exploitation, and organ removal, you have committed an offense known as human trafficking. You need to be arrested and you need to be punished. So in cases of human trafficking to happen, you can call us, Mr. Matewere, I think there is a case of human trafficking. And you're right. I will ask you some questions. You can phone the police, the immigration officer, the social workers. We think during our field work, we have spotted some elements of human trafficking. They will not rush until you are able to demonstrate in your statement 3 things that amount to a case of human trafficking. The first thing that you need to explain for that particular case to be identified as a case of human trafficking is the action. Things that happen at the point of engagement or recruitment. As per the definition, it starts with that organized process to recruit another person. So, a case or a situation will become a trafficking in person situation if there is an organization to recruit a victim. I will share with you some of the approaches which are used to recruit a victim. So the first step that you need to demonstrate, you're conducting your research, not that fake one, but the normal one. You're conducting your research, you have come across some possible victim from Palombe. You're doing the research in Giro. There's a research on the plight of prostitutes in the Giro district. You have come across this poor young boy and young girl. Now, from this discussion, you conclude that this could be a possible case of human trafficking. If you are calling a police officer, make sure during your interview, you have been able to establish, indeed, if this person was recruited. So the first element, that point at the case of human trafficking, is that process of recruitment. Then, the other issue at the same first stage is the issue of transportation, harboring, and also transfer. Then secondly, a case or a situation becomes a case of human trafficking when you also appreciate the means used to recruit the victim. Mr. Matewere went to Palombe to recruit this particular victim. And during the recruitment, Mr. Matewere, as a second element, used force. The victim must be able to explain to you the means that was used during the stage of recruitment. He went to Palombe and he recruited this particular girl through abuse of his position of power or position of trust. That means Mr. Matewere has committed an offense of human trafficking. Then lastly, depending on where you have this victim, the third element we must be able to demonstrate is the purpose. What is the purpose that made Mr. Matewere to recruit, to use this means of force for him to benefit from the service of this particular victim? So you must be able to demonstrate or conclude based on evidence as established that this person is either a victim of labor exploitation or a victim of commercial sex or sexual exploitation or a victim of organ removal. You can intercept me and conclude that I am a victim of organ removal. If the evidence that surrounds my situation at the point of transportation are pointing at organ removal as a possible victim, then this situation will make us conclude that this person is a victim of organ removal. People are intercepted at the airport on their way to India to donate kidneys. They are intercepted at the airport. They are victims of organ removal. Now, let's go deep into the process. Mind you, let me say this again. Human trafficking is a business. People are engaged in human trafficking, not for nothing. They are engaged in human trafficking to make a profit. So whatever they do it because they want to make profits through this recruitment and selling for another person. And the profit is made through exploitation of another person. It is a business of supply and demand. So there is always a demand to supply young women. Sometimes they call them sweet 16s. There is that demand to supply domestic workers from Africa. It is also a business that involves a process. No one just wake up and become a trafficker. No. They go through a process. So when you're here, that so has been arrested. He has been arrested, or she has been arrested because she was engaged through that process. So this business would make people invest money for recruitment. We want to go to Africa and recruit young women to work in Arab countries as domestic workers. So they will invest. They will also invest money to transport and transfer the victim. Yes, if you agree to come with us to Oman, you just need to provide or arrange your passport. Share with us your picture. We'll be able to give you a free air ticket. We'll be able to pay for your visa. We'll be able to provide accommodation for you for free. Look at the cost and how much this guy is investing. To transport a domestic worker recruited from Palombe, who has never been to school, to Oman, spending over 3 million in Malawi kwacha, working in Oman. So many kilometers away from Malawi. It is a business. He wants to make a profit out of this investment. Then again, you should know from now onwards that the concept that you're talking about is a global crime that trades in people. It's not coming from the government of Malawi or the police. It is a global crime that trades in people for someone else to make a profit out of exploitation of another person. Mind you, Robert, from the office where I'm coming from, the current statistics show us that as of now, through human trafficking, these recruiters, the traffickers, makes over 150 billion US dollars a year through exploitation of another person. There was a time 5 years ago when someone was in America was arrested. When the police calculated his earnings, looking at the bank accounts, his daily transaction, when they calculated, all of us were shocked. And when you look at the national budget, our national budget, the one who spent time discussing in Parliament, this guy alone, through the money he was able to make 1 year, he would finance our government budget for 5 years. He committed suicide in prison. Because it was unorganized. There are so many players who are involved in this business. So, why are we so worried again? Out of 150 million, 99 billion is generated through sex trafficking. You must be worried. Because this one involves quite a lot of women. Yes, we have some records of young people. Young boys being used as for sex. Here in other countries, Thailand, who are trafficked and exploited in Malawi. But out of 150 million, 99 billion is made through sex trafficking. In other words, when the traffickers look at the figures, they don't want to rest. They don't have time to relax. They are always on the ground, recruiting yet another victim, because it's business. Then again, 51 billion is generated through other forms of trafficking, labor exploitation, and also removal of organs. So for my introduction, or for first part of my discussion, you'll see that I've made emphasis on 3 purposes why people are engaged in human trafficking. These are 3 forms that make people engage in human trafficking or invest to generate a huge profit. So I'll make reference to the Trafficking in Persons Act, Section 2, because that's where you can get a national definition of human trafficking. There, the law says human trafficking happens for 3 reasons. So it agrees with the global definition and understanding. 1, for sexual exploitation. Secondly, it happens for forced labor or services or slavery practice similar to slavery. Then lastly, it happens for organ removal. So people are engaged in the recruitment for another person for their organs. So there are 3 things that the law in Malawi recognized. Now, let me try now and demonstrate to you this business of demand and supply. How does it operate? So that you need to be careful. You need really to pay attention to the situation that happens all the time. We are approaching the festival season. Very soon, some people will be going to the lake. Others would want to make a profit through the sales of alcohol. And what do they do? This time around, the owners of nightclubs are busy demanding the supply of young girls before 16 December. In order for them to be, or their nightclub to be ready to attract customers by Christmas and the New Year. So don't be surprised when you walk around town during Christmas or New Year holiday. to see an increase in number of young girls marketing their bodies along the streets. Not all of them are doing that voluntarily. I would encourage you to look beyond the surface after this session. You will be shocked to discover that most of them are actually victims of human trafficking, recruited for sex to boost business by the owners of nightclubs. There is also a demand by the estate owners. So every year, as we are approaching the farming season, there is huge demand by estate owners. We are looking for laborers who can supply us laborers. Then again, in construction industry, it also happens. When there is a new project, you will see an influx of laborers. Sometimes in street begging. I would encourage you to pay attention. Whenever you see a man pushing a wheelchair with a child with disability, and this is a female child with disability, ask some questions. You will discover this child was recruited in Palombe and used in the wrong way to beg by this gentleman. They are not related at all. Sometimes in tourism sector, the religious sector, there is also a demand. And sometimes gang and criminal groups. So let me explain one or two things about trafficking for sex, how it happens. I've already explained to you, pay attention to what will be happening now. But how do people make profit out of the engagement of a victim as a prostitute? One, I would like to explain to you how owners of nightclubs, owners of lodges will work together to benefit from the forced services of a forced prostitute. How do they do that? One, the owner of a nightclub clearly know that by having crates of alcohol alone does not attract customers. But when you combine it with girls, it will attract customers. And therefore, they will recruit young girls. You go there, you are engaged in prostitution. Are you paying anything else to the owner of the nightclub? The answer is no, we don't pay anything else. You go to the owner of the nightclub. The owner of the nightclub will say, I don't get any money from this young girl. But now, you'll be able to explain to you, during this time, I've been able to boost my business because of the presence of the young girls. He is into an organized crime. Then they will also make sure that they have arranged accommodation for these young girls behind the nightclub. Could be a lodge. And what they do, these are 3 young girls that we rescued from one of the nightclubs. Engaged to make profit for the owner of the nightclub. The youngest, there, in the middle, at the time of rescue, was 11 years old. She was taught to be sleeping with 10 men a day and make 18,000 at that time. for the owner, for the trafficker. We learn from their experience, things that happen, or things that are done by the nightclub and the lodges. So, these young girls will pay rent. Now, if you go to most of these lodges, you ask them, without these young girls, are you going to have customers? They will tell you. It's very difficult. Maybe a customer will come once a month. That's why we decided to open up our lodge for these young girls. It is unlawful to use a lodge for as a house for someone else to stay in that lodge for a longer period. So whenever young men would rent a lodge for a longer period, using it as a house of prostitutes, it is unlawful. So the owners of the lodge would make money because of the presence of these young girls in the lodges. Then again, these 3 women were recruited from Thailand, trafficked into Malawi, and exploited in Malawi from Thailand. So they are victims of commercial sex trafficking. Each of the 3 women were told or instructed by the trafficker that he must make $500 a day, which is a month they are making for the trafficker through sex, 15 million Malawi each at the time of their rescue. They had worked for 8 months. So I would like to give an example how the owner of nightclub and lodges make business out of this. One, the girl child which they're holding as a victim was as a customer is told that if you want to stay here, you need to be making money through sex. You are not allowed to leave this place until you pay off the first three nights. And they are taught, after they have stayed the first 3 nights, thinking that you are for free, and they are not told that you have incurred a debt, you need to pay off. So this young girl then will be engaged into prostitution. So they will make, for example, based on those experiences, 15,000 waja to 30,000. Whatever they make, they need to pay 15 to 30,000 per day for that particular room. They also need to pay 2,000 for security. Then, for information, things that worries us most. The majority of those young girls are living under fear. Because within the compound, there is what is called a witch doctor. Someone else who is forced on them. So every day, they'll be forced to sleep with this man and also pay him some money. They say, bring him off lucky, or bring him back the attraction. So you have to sleep with the traditional doctor every day. Then they will spare maybe 2,000 for food. And what do they, how much do they make? So they are asked to have 5 to 2 customers. Each customer will pay 10 to 2,000 watch. Now if you look at that and the amount of expenditure, daily expenditure, does not match. That's why they'll be hauled at that nightclub or lodge for a longer period, because now they have incurred a debt to service. So they are forced now, because of the situation, to do things that will engage them with more customers in order for them to service the debts. But what is happening? as an organized crime is the way the owner of the nightclub as a trafficker and the owner of the lodge as a trafficker selling their legitimate products like alcohol and the lodge through exploitation of these girls. Then quickly, let's talk about labor exploitation. Here, as I already explained to you in passing, every year, as an example, there is active recruitment of young girls or unsuspected victims in Malawi, including children, who are taken to our neighboring countries like Zambia and Mozambique to work in tobacco estates. There were times when young people recruited in Malawi, taken to Zambia, they will be encouraged to work for 6 months with an expectation that after 6 months, we'll go back to Malawi with a bicycle. Few days before harvest, the owner of the estate will go to the immigration office. I have prohibited immigrants at working at my estate. Then the immigration officer and the police will rush at night, arrest all of them, throw them in prison for 6 months. After serving for 6 months, they will throw them along the border between Malawi and Zambia with a warning never to show their face again in Zambia. Everything is done as an organized crime. It's done in order for the owner of the state as a trafficker to make a profit through the service that has been provided by this particular victim from Malawi. So it will happen every day in Malawi and Mozambique. We have now living cases of young women that are recruited and taken to Oman or Arab countries. Why is it important for me to share these experiences? Currently, there is a demand for traffickers to supply domestic workers in Arab countries. It involves the engagement of labor agencies. Others are registered, others are not registered. The only CV the traffickers and labor agencies will ask from young girls is their photo. Not your degree. It's nothing. Now, you look at the amount which they are promising. If you agree to come to Oman or any of these Arab countries, you'll be paid $500 a month. $500 times the Malawi, how much is that? Close to 600,000 a month. In Malawi, you are told that if you work as a domestic worker, you'll be paid $50,000 or less. Now you're given the opportunity to be paid 600 Malawi kwacha. The only CV is your picture. Then they'll tell you, your trip, you don't have to worry about your ticket, air ticket, or visas. Who will sponsor you? Pay attention. It's too good to be good. It's false. The cost of air ticket to Oman and all the expenses will come close to 3 million Malawi kwacha. So when they arrive, if you ask them before they go to Oman, ask any of them. Yes, there's this job opportunity. You have submitted your picture. You have received the air ticket. Ask them before they leave Malawi. How much is your ticket? We don't know. How much is your visa? We don't know. Here in Malawi. Ask them again upon their arrival in Oman. 3 hours upon their arrival. How much is your ticket? We are told it is 2,000 watt. How much is your visa? We are told it is this amount. And we are told again that everything this labor agency has invested in us wasn't for free. We need to pay off. So upon arrival in Arab countries, they are already employed and engaged or subjected to debts, which they need to pay off for a period of 2 years. So they did work for 2 years to service the cost for air ticket. It wasn't for free at all. And most of them are only informed in Oman, in Kuwait, in Saudi Arabia. Not in Malawi. It is only communicated in those countries. The whole reason is to make sure that once that has been communicated to them in those countries, they are put in a position of desperation. They can't travel back. They are in a strange land. This is a young girl from area 23, from area 25, from area 10, alone in a foreign country, without any payment. A passport has been snatched from them. They are put in a position of desperation. What happens next? They cooperate and agree to do as instructed. They become victims of human trafficking. So if they are told that you need to provide sex to the audience, to the client that will bring to you, they will just do it. Then, again, demand and supply. Most of young people that are recruited in Ethiopia, DRC, Congo, taken to South Africa, that pass through Malawi, track them throughout the process and see what happens in South Africa. Most of them are engaged in restaurants. They work there, not for free, but they are also servicing the debts which they have incurred through transportation. They become victims of human trafficking. Quickly, on the organ removal, it is another purpose why victims are recruited. It is not yet another story, but indeed, so many people are fallen victim of human trafficking. Mind you, just this year, the High Court, sitting in Rome, found guilty the most respected individuals in Malawi, the priest, the medical doctor, a police officer, and a brother of a victim who was murdered for trafficking and injuring another person for their organ. If you recall the case of McDonald Masambuka, late McDonald Masambuka. Then, quickly, human trafficking as an organized crime, it's very important that I need to explain to this to you. Because most of the time, young people, and most of us tend not to believe when we say that the job that you are offered is force. Please don't travel. Now, they graduated, and some of them, as well, I've seen in social media, are bearing off their degrees because there's no employment. And before you is an offer to travel to UK, to travel to America, to travel to South Africa, to travel to Oman, with a promise of $1,000 a month. And Mr. Matewere is coming to say, hey, this one is false. Are you going to listen to me? I'm only sharing the words of wisdom, not giving you employment. But this guy is offering you employment with a salary of $1,000. Now, the thing is, if you are or you become a victim of human trafficking, The moment you have been recruited, just know that now you are subjected to an organized crime. The recruiter, you know, is not the same person you meet tomorrow at the point of transportation. It's a different person. So you became an instruction. Now you're traveling to a foreign country. When you go to the airport, you will meet this particular gentleman. When you arrive in the foreign country, you will meet this particular gentleman. And this gentleman will take you to this particular area. So it's an organized sort of system that will subject the victim. And just to demonstrate to you, these are pictures of well-known traffickers. One of the pictures is the guy that I spoke about, the one that can finance my government budget for 5 years. He's also there. So, the actors that are engaged in cases of human trafficking as a business of demand and supply would include the investor, who is the topmost. Then we have the recruiter, the transporter. We have also a corrupt government officials that participate. We also have guiders. They want to pass through Malawi. Someone needs to guide them. We also have the debt collectors. We also have the sponsors, then the money movers. Money to make in Malawi should be moved to Ethiopia. They are specialized individuals recruited or engaged for that particular purpose. Then we also have the protectors. The moment you are engaged, recruited and transported, it is very difficult for you to run away. That's why you'll be asking, you can ask, what really happens? For people really to watch, their colleagues are dying in the track and they don't move. They just watch and wait for their time. Because the protector is watching them. Recruited for that particular purpose as part of the network. Then, very important, some of the reasons that create the environment for human trafficking. These are not the reason why you say that why people should seriously subject themselves into the hands of the traffickers. No. These are the reasons why people like you and me must work so hard, one, to create a job opportunity for another person. Secondly, to deal with our own poverty situation. Not as reasons why we must subject ourselves to human trafficking. The traffickers look at this as opportunities, because these are forums or situations that will make people understand or agree to cooperate with the traffickers. So things like poverty, desperation are some of the reasons, lack of education are some of the reasons, domestic violences, the impact of conflicts, also low value of salaries would make people move or be ready to move. Things like political situation or wanting to escape from an employment situation or gender discrimination are some of the reasons. In terms of pull factors, the traffickers, as part of their business, understand that yes, we have the Honorable Deputy Minister there, the Chancellor, the Registrar, and all of us, who are pleading with each one of you not to cooperate with the traffickers. We are only talking. The traffickers understand that as young people, you have your own expectation for employment. and opportunities. So they will attack you along those lines. Don't listen to these people. They will not feed you. We have many opportunities. We offer you employment. Then also demand for services such as sex and labor. It's another pull factor. Then expectation of rich financial rewards by all of us, not only young people unemployed. Then growing demand for commercial sex with minors. And also access to materials benefit associated with development countries. Then in terms of poor factors, a clear message coming from all the victims. Why did you subject yourself at the mercy of this trafficker? They will tell you that yes, we need to improve our social position, and we want to also recognize us the deputy economic minister or the vice chancellor, and the traffickers respond also to demand for housemates, work for women, and also demand for cheap labor, and also inadequate border control, or opportunities for false promises. Let me finish with, again, a brief discussion with you around the strategies used by the traffickers to recruit their victims. One, inducement. Their message is very clear. They attack on people's expectation. They know each one of us to have some expectation. We want some improvement, so they will attack us around job opportunities. They also follow an organized process. They will invest their money and income into that process. They don't just wake up and say, we are going to Malawi to recruit young girls. No. They organize themselves. And again, they don't rush. If they want to have a successful recruitment, they clearly know that we are investing over 5 million to recruit this particular girl in Malawi. They will make sure that they build trust between the recruiter and the victim. So that if there is a police officer that will discourage you, you must not listen, but you must listen to the trafficker. They give pocket money to young girls to prepare for their trip. Young girls looking for Brazilians. They will dress them up so that they don't listen to anything coming from their parents or their teachers. They build that trust. Then they also promote active participation. They don't force most of the time. They will encourage you to participate. Please send us one of your beautiful pictures. You already have pictures, but now it's boring. Can I borrow 1,000? I need to go to the studio and get this beautiful picture. I even borrow dresses. You are participating. Go to the immigration. You participate. So they encourage active participation. So that you don't, you trust them. That indeed, what they're doing is very important. Will definitely help you as someone else who wants to deal with your poverty situation. I've discussed in terms of monetary profit that I've made, but globally, we have 40 million people who are victims of human trafficking. The majority of those are women who are trafficked for the purpose of sex. Then in terms of Malawi situation, we have currently statistics as recorded in the automated in 2020. In Malawi in year 2020, we had almost 688 people who were victims of human trafficking. As we are talking this year, we are told about almost 300 plus girls that are in Oman, plus those that we already know who are in Malawi. So most likely, the number is going to be so huge. Most important for all of us to know why we must say no to human trafficking. A trafficker can never succeed with their business of recruitment, transportation, harboring and exploitation if they don't control the victim. So they use control tactics to make sure that the victim provide the necessary service in order for them to make a profit. Remember, the profit made in cases of human trafficking are not made in a single day. Every person who has been recruited as a victim of human trafficking are engaged to provide a service for a longer period. And therefore, you cannot be allowed to leave the service before you generate the income. You need to generate the income. And therefore, the trafficker would control you, would control your movement, so that you would generate an income and a profit. So, Honorable Minister, because of time, allow me to stop there by encouraging young people and all of us to participate in the campaign against trafficking in person. Why must we do that? The most scary and most dangerous thing about human trafficking, by the way, globally, when we look at the most serious crimes against humanity, we have 4. We have trafficking of precious stones, one on the list. Because in countries where people are doing big illegal business of selling precious stones, conflicts have always been there. All those countries are set with the use of illegal firearms. So there is a lot of killings in those countries. That's why being hearing about war in Congo, that will never end. Then second on the list, we have human trafficking. Human trafficking is second on the list because it is one of the most difficult crimes to deal with. When your sister, your brother, has been recruited and subjected to these processes, for the rescue alone of this brother of yours, or for law enforcement officers to deal with the offender, yes, they have arrested the beneficiary, who is the exploiter. To deal with it, they need to find out who is the investor, who was the transporter, who is the debt collector, the mobilizer. To arrest a crime, you need to investigate and arrest all those people that were involved. For this one to become a victim of human trafficking. No wonder, when you start investigating cases of human trafficking, some officers have ended up being killed. And secondly, why is it so serious? There can never be a case of human trafficking if there is no victim of human trafficking. That's why the definition starts with human trafficking. For an case to occur, there has to be this human. And therefore, this human become a witness to a case of human trafficking. And the traffickers understand that if there is no, this human, the victim, there is no case. And therefore, if you want to run, or you have escaped, or you have become a witness to a case of human trafficking, the first thing the traffickers want to deal with is you, as a victim, as a witness. They clearly know, if there is no victim, there is no witness, there is no case to answer. That's why most of the victims will end up being killed by the traffickers. So there shouldn't be any case. There shouldn't be any victim. That's why we always promote and encourage for us to prevent. So that so many young people are looking for employment, so many Malawians who are poor, must not subject themselves to human trafficking because they are poor or they are looking for employment. No. The results of human trafficking are so severe. Most of the time can never be repaired. They could result in loss of life. So I'm appealing with you one to report. If you have any reasonable or information that also has been engaged in recruitment of another person, don't hesitate. Report. And mind you, if I'm a victim, I've been rescued. The police have established that Mr. Matewere had knowledge about my situation, but didn't report. The law says I must be arrested and sent to jail for not reporting the case of human trafficking and pay a fine of 500,000. So the law is encouraging us to report, because reporting will lead to the rescue of a life and will save people's life. Then secondly, I will ask you to join me. Let us boycott buying or procuring services from the victims of human trafficking. If we have a brother who has a nightclub, start with them. Tell them to stop using young girls as marketing strategy. If you have a sister with a lodge, tell them to stop. They must stop that. Then again, indeed, I agree. Support the public awareness campaign and encourage others to do the same. We shall communicate to you very soon. We are starting a campaign. I will not share you the phone number for Martha, but we want to try. We'll communicate through the school, the registrar office, those that want to participate. We want to try be sending a message once a week about human trafficking through the social media. As of now, we have been cooperating with the traffickers, promoting human trafficking, but we want to do the other way. Sending a message to alert people about human trafficking. So we'll be communicating through register, and we want you to participate through that. It's not a recruitment, another recruitment. This one is really a normal call that you need to participate. Thank you so much for your attention.
Wow. Learning has taken place. Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Matewere, for a well-detailed, clear public lecture on human trafficking.
we've gained new knowledge. Let's give him another round of applause. This time around, may I ask the ushers to give us some refreshments? As we are taking refreshments, may I call upon Esther Komani to give us a poem as we are being refreshed. After this poem, we are going to have another speech from our guest speaker, the Deputy Minister of Gender, Honorable Agnes Gusankom.
Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Esther Komani, and I will recite a poem that was written by Louis Rams on human trafficking. The United Nations Declaration of Human Rights states that human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights, that no one should be held in slavery or servitude, that no one shall be subjected to torture or to cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment. But did you know what human traffickers do? The human trafficker sells your body, sells your soul. They keep you under their control. To them, you are just a piece of meat for humanity to sit and eat. The younger the victim, the easier it is for them to control. No longer do they, as the victim grows, as their teens, their spirit is cold, no longer do they have the will to fight. It's become their way of life. They never had a childhood or a family to love, or to even know what's love about, for their hearts and their minds have been turned inside out, and in their face, fear is the only thing they know, and in their face it will show. Many are bought and put on the streets. If they don't meet their quota, they don't eat. Then there are those who are sold privately. Those are the ones that you never see. Most are girls, but they are boys too, and they're all being used as sexual toys. They wish there was someone out there to be their voice and stop silencing these crimes. So we have to let all countries know that human trafficking has to go. Thank you.
Thank you so much for standing. You may sit down. It was good actually it was so good that you stood up. I wanted to ask, hey, why did you be here for 2 minutes? So thank you so much. We don't need to be too hard on each other. After all, today is a Friday, isn't it? What are my guys? You don't want to share. Don't have anything to say. Why are you supporting him? I'm going to share. And my speech is too long. When it's meant to take me 15 minutes, it just happened for me. But I'm trying to be fast so that I can make it. I can read my speech. It's not a presentation, it's a speech. I'll try to make it within 10 minutes. First of all, let me extend the apologies from my boss, the Minister of Gender in our ministry, Honorable Patricia Annie Karianti, who was supposed to be here today with you. But right now, as I'm speaking, she's on the plane. She just left this afternoon to a certain country called Kazakhstan or something like that, near Russia, somewhere there, where the president was supposed to go on a similar program, ECD and human trafficking. So the president has delegated the minister, and we say thank you to the president. So, but she is extending her apologies to say Vivani should have come on her own, and it was a respect for you to invite her. Apologies from the minister. So I will say a speech from my ministry on her behalf, which is Minister of Gender, Community Development and Social Welfare. Ladies and gentlemen, can I call you ladies and gentlemen? Girls and boys. Thank you so much. I feel greatly honored this afternoon to be, sorry I forgot salutations. My apologies. Let me salute the following people. Mr. Maxwell, Matewere. Thank you for that beautiful presentation. Thank you so much. The UN, United Nations on Drugs and Crime, and our director from the Ministry of Gender, Mr. Matewere, is the Child Affairs Director, and Dr. David Koma, Deputy Vice Chancellor of MAGU. Government officials who escorted me here and were also invited. Madam Martha Galia, social worker, and I think it's also Madam Chifundo Halala, Malay Human Rights Commission, Mr. Albert Newa, Mark University Registrar, Mrs. Zuolini Namombe, Acting Dean, Faculty of Education, MAGU academic and administrative staff, and all of you students here present, members of the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I feel greatly honored this afternoon to be accorded this opportunity to give a lecture on behalf of the Malawi government through my ministry on issues of human trafficking here at the Assemblies of God University, MAGU. First of all, let me thank the management of MAGU for organizing this public lecture on human trafficking in Malawi. My ministry appreciates and understands the enormous task being carried out by various partners, including the academia, and complementing the government agenda. Let me take this opportunity to thank MAGU, the management of MAGU, in incorporating into curriculum subjects issues concerning the promotion and protection of people's rights, including children, which is once again a great honor for me to speak to the students here at MAGU on the extent of the problem of human trafficking in Malawi and to share efforts the government of Malawi through different government agencies is doing to address the challenge. Ladies and gentlemen, and all students here present, let me start by saying that human trafficking still remains a challenge in Malawi, just like other countries across the globe. Human trafficking is defined as modern slavery involving the illegal transport of individuals by force or trick for the purpose of labor. This is what Mr. Matewere was just saying. Labor, sexual exploitation, removal of human organs or activities in which others benefit financially. It's also called trafficking in persons. Every year, ladies and gentlemen, millions of men, women, and children are trafficked worldwide. Trafficking in persons, TIP, continues to be one of the global issues in the 21st century. Malawi as a country has not been spared, and it is a source, destination, and a transit country. Of late, there have been incidences of trafficking in persons of Malawians, particularly women, to Middle East countries such as Oman, where they are being trafficked for labor and sexual exploitation. Ladies and gentlemen, trafficking in persons has not spared children, as there have been cases of children being trafficked for purposes of labor and sexual, the things that I've mentioned before, within Malawi and outside to countries such as Mozambique and Zambia. The victims can be of any age, race, gender, or nationality. Traffickers might use the following methods to trap victims into trafficking situations: romantic relationships, false promises of well-paying jobs, violence, manipulation. I know some of the children of my friends who have traveled to Dubai, who have traveled to Oman. They are crying today. They want their children to come back, but they don't have any money to pay for the tickets. And they are coming to government every day to say, can you rescue our children? What happens is, these things, they look attractive. They promise you so many things. They say, hey, natural disasters, psychology, physical or emotional vulnerability, and economic hardships. Being a child, ladies and gentlemen, it is very pathetic to hear and see our Malawians suffer in the hands of a fellow human being who is supposed to show love and care as per the commandments of God. Exploited girls and women become bargains. Let us not hide words here, or let us call a spade a spade. English is sounding so different, but what they are saying is, if you know there was a business called bar girls, nowadays you're not saying bar girls. Waiting for men to give you some money. We know poverty is real. But then let us find other things to do. I know we are in the times of hardships. Once we are exploited, let us call a spade a spade. Or even for one night, they'll point you at gunpoint. They'll put you at gunpoint. Hey, you land. Hey, she don't mess on the minute, I'm about to peanuts. But who do you tell? No one. You feel shy. If I had seen another cover, just sick, Masana de Maona that. Almost sick. This is why, because we are hiding, it's self-abuse. Unfortunately, we understand the poverty is there, but it's also self-abuse. Ladies and gentlemen, it is estimated that approximately 1 million people are trafficked each year globally. In Malawi, the following are the registered cases. For the period between January and August 2021 and 2022, comparison of human trafficking cases registered January 2021 and August 2022 were as follows. Central region here in Lilongwe, 2021, 8 12, 2022, 6, total 18. Unchinji now goes is not this year. I'm a girl from Unchinji, by the way. Unchinji, we had a total of 47, Leza, 37. Now also Zimbabwe, they had their own numbers, 16, Nigaronga, 25. Western region of Mangochi, 12, Uzomba, 7. And Machinga 26. These, they look like small numbers, but they are big. Kuplata also, they have their own numbers. Umanza, Palombe, they have their own numbers. As of November 2022, the government has been following and supporting 36 trafficking in persons cases with a total of 226 survivors, 75 females and 151 males. This support has led to increased prosecutions and convictions. Ladies and gentlemen, most of the cases of human trafficking in Malawi were registered in districts bordering other countries like Mozambique, Zambia and Tanzania, with Mwanza and Inchinji registering high cases for a period of 2 years. Ladies and gentlemen, the government of Malawi, through my ministry, has an obligation to abide by the various international instruments which guide the efforts in the protection and promotion of human rights. Such instruments include the United Nations Convention on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, UNCRC, the African Charter on the Rights and Welfare of the Child, ACRWC, the Convention of the Elimination of Discrimination Against Women, which is CEDAW. In view of this, government has done the following to address human trafficking. Enactment of Trafficking in Person Act of 2015 to regulate the protection of children. Section 14, subsection 1, attracts penalties from 14 years to life imprisonment. Engagement with judicial staff on trafficking in persons, TIP cases. Engagement of pro bono lawyers to represent survivors of human trafficking and support to victims to appear in court. We have the National Coordination Committee Against Trafficking in Persons, which comprises of government, civil society organizations, and faith-based organizations to oversee the work of trafficking in persons in Malawi. Establishment of the Trafficking in Persons Fund, where every year the government allocates funds for the fight against trafficking in persons in Malawi. Availability of National Plan of Action that provides guidance in the implementation of activities combating trafficking in Malawi. There is also availability of the operating procedures on shelter management. Currently, we have 4 gazetted shelters in Malawi, which are located in Zomba, Blantyre, Lilongwe, and in Chinji. The government is looking forward to have one in the north. And also availability of district technical working groups comprising key government departments and CSOs who oversee the work to counter trafficking in Malawi. And also conducting awareness raising, capacity building of stakeholders, production of education, information communication, materials, and radio and TV programs on trafficking in persons. This has in turn increased knowledge on TIP amongst the masses and increased the reporting of cases. There is also providing necessities to shelter homes, training of shelter caretakers, and repatriation of survivors to their homes. The activity is supporting survivors of trafficking who are mostly children and women in the 3 shelter homes, Lilongwe, Chinji, and Zomba. Development of the first ever national trafficking in persons database in Malawi. This is a milestone as data will be informing decision makers in the fight against human trafficking. There is also Malawi Network Against Trafficking, MINAT, and other key UN organizations collaborating in the fight. Ladies and gentlemen, through my ministry and other government departments, we also have a number of legal documents, policies, and guidelines for the protection of its people and promotion of human rights. Among others include the following. The Child Care Protection and Justice Act 2010 prohibits any person from subjecting a child to various forms of abuse. And the Marriage, Divorce and Family Relations Act 2015, which regards child marriage as sexual offense. The Spain's penal code also includes all sexual offenses and criminalizes them. National ECD policy provides guidelines and priority areas for child growth, survival, and proper development through household and center-based services. It is through this policy where my ministry ensures that children are well taken care of by their primary and center caregivers, hence preventing children from being exposed to human traffickers. National Children's Policy also provides guidelines for the protection and active child participation. And also National Social Protection Policy provides guidelines on the universal household registration as well as identification of vulnerable categories of people for relevant support services and the National Child Participation Guidelines. Ladies and gentlemen, with guidance from these documents, it should be noted that my ministry, in collaboration with other stakeholders, is doing a number of interventions through protective measures, preventive measures, psychosocial support, and other service delivery to address the abuses. The current interventions include the following: awareness campaigns on evils of human trafficking, encouraging parents to send their children to schools, and the ECD centers as a way of protecting them from being exposed to human trafficking practices. Facilitation of child participation activities where children express their views, keep children busy for positive behavior change through engaging in dialogues. And children's parliament, children's corners, among others. Reporting this word is always a problem for me to mention. Reporting these people of human trafficking to Malawi police services is also our #1 priority. Ensuring trafficked persons are treated with dignity and respect for their rights during interviews and throughout the investigation and prosecution.
Thank you so much. We may remain standing as our guests leave this auditorium. God bless you.
Hả? Hồi đấy.